Good afternoon, dear participants. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. So the topic of my presentation will be the progress on implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which is quality education. SDG 4, with its ambitious aim to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, has been a beacon of hope for millions across the globe. And today we will delve into the comprehensive overview of the progress made across continents in the implementation of this SDG, examining the commendable efforts, challenges faced, and the remaining gaps in achieving this crucial sustainable development goal. So here is the contents of my presentation. So first I'll briefly introduce myself, and then we will take imaginary plane and travel across the continents to see to what extent SDG 4 is implemented. And I would like to start with Africa and end with Australia, and then in the next slide you will see why. And in particular, I want to firstly give a brief overview of the situation with education on the whole continent, and then go on to a country case study from each continent. And then I'll bring up an example of an NGO from a personal experience that puts a lot of emphasis in promoting education. So as you can see, we will look at case studies of South Africa, Brazil, India, and Australia. So this is how our imaginary journey will look like. On this cool map, you can see what countries are we going to look at. And these circles that look like a traffic light are just to give a preliminary idea of how they are doing regarding SDG 4. So this is why I want to start with Africa, because it's a region with still low achievement of SDG 4, and I would like to end with Australia, which is pretty advanced in this context, and then we have Latin America and Asia in between. So here's just information about me. So I'm Alexandra. I study Masters in International Relations at IE University in Madrid, capital of Spain. So before that, I got my undergraduate degree in international relations, also at the IE. I'm currently a writer in IE International Policy Review, a student-led academic journal where we basically review policies of any kind and try to give some policy recommendations. And also, fun fact, this semester I have a course called Partnership Models for a Changing World, where I work in a team to find out how an NGO can implement SDG 4 in a partnership with another stakeholder, where it's a donor, a state, or member civil society. So it's really interesting. So before going deeper into our topic of today, I want to bring up an important statistic. According to UNESCO, 244 children and youth are still out of school. So this is just to give you an idea about how far are we from achieving SDG 4. So now let's take a imaginary plane and travel to Africa. Is just a picture. So according to 2022 report made by the UNDP, Africa made slow progress in the provision of quality education for all. Despite considerable improvement in enrollment, 98 million children of school age are still out of school, especially in the countries affected by conflict. The challenge of meeting SDG 4 is particularly great in sub-Saharan Africa, where the school-age population is growing faster than anywhere else in the world. And the share of the region in the global out-of-school population of primary school age grew from 41% in 2000 to 54% in 2017. Moreover, according to the latest State of Global Education update, nearly 9 out of 10 sub-Saharan children cannot read and understand texts before the age of 10. And moreover, analysis program of conference of the ministers of education of French-speaking countries' education systems shows that 42% of grade 6 students, so about 11, 12 years old children, uh, achieve minimum proficiency in reading and numeracy skills in assessed Francophone African countries. And the trend is unfortunately negative. And if it continues, then the proportion could drop by nearly one-third. Moreover, in sub-Saharan Africa, only 64% of primary school teachers and 50% of secondary school teachers have minimum required training, and this proportion has been declining since 2000 as a result of schools hiring contract teachers without qualifications to cover gaps at lower costs. So now let's look at the case study of South Africa, as it is one of the most developed states in Africa. So South Africa has a significant budget expenditure for the education sector. However, despite this, according to UNICEF, a UN organization that promotes rights of children, South Africa is still struggling to achieve the objective of SDG 4. UNICEF noticed that the number of out-of-school children in South Africa tripled from 250,000 to 750,000 children between March 2020 and July 2021. So the number of out-of-school children significantly increased during the pandemic. And here I would like to clarify what out-of-school children actually means. So out-of-school children are defined as children of primary and secondary school age that are not enrolled education at all. So they are not the same as those who learn remotely or who had to learn remotely because of COVID. And also a fact is that between 50 and 75% of a normal worth of learning was lost during 2020. And at the same time, the issue with achieving SDG 4 in South Africa is difficult even without the effect of COVID-19. So Statistics South Africa noted that approximately 43% of youngsters below 6 years old did not attend any educational center at all in 2018. Moreover, the General Household Survey in 2021, released by Statistics South Africa, also shows worrying trends at a secondary school level, with a dropout rate of 29.3% for 18 years old learners and 46.3% for 19 years old learners. So while the reasons for this are manifold, the most common are illness and disability, and they account for 22.7%. Poor academic performance, that accounts for 21.2%, and the lack of finances, which represents 19.6%. So as you can see, it is quite difficult to achieve SDG for Africa due to various local factors and external factors. So now let's travel to Latin America. So in Latin America, the progress with achieving SDG 4 is better. Latin American states have made significant efforts to democratize access to education through various policies. And access to higher education becomes a priority for these countries. Countries such as Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and Uruguay have opted to consolidate and create new public higher institutions to meet the growing demand for higher education. And in addition to expanding public offerings, some countries have promoted direct financing for students. So, for instance, 9 countries in the region, like Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Paraguay, and Uruguay, have set up agencies within their ministries for the sole purpose of managing their higher education systems, while others, such as Cuba and Venezuela, opted for creation of ministries uh, for uh, with an exclusive higher education mandate. And these reforms are fully in line with SDG 4, as SDG 4 takes one of its core targets, expanding access to higher education to the entire population. The main issue is inequality in society. The higher income population has much greater uh, chance to access higher education institutions, while only 1 in 4 young people in the lowest income bracket will access with this stage. And moreover, students with indigenous and African descent also face inequality. So, for example, the gross enrollment ratio in higher education is 40% for the indigenous population, 45.5% for the Afro-descendant population, and 71.9% for the rest of population. So now let's look at the country case study, Brazil, a country with a vibrant and dynamic economy in the region, and with so many ethnic groups. So even before the SDGs were created in 2014, Brazil launched the National Education Plan, and some of its parts do coincide with objectives of SDG 4. So, for example, the first target of SDG 4 is the universalization of primary and secondary education for all girls and boys, offering quality education. In the Brazilian plan, Target 3 indicates that by 2016, Brazil was meant to universalize school attendance for the entire population between ages 15 and 17, and the net enrollment rate in high school would reach 85%. And still, the implementation of the national plan and SDG remains a difficult task. For instance, by 2017, only 68% of the population aged between 15 and 17 was attending high school. And in addition, in the north and northeast of Brazil, the percentage is just 60%. Non-white population has enrollment rate of 63%, and that is below national average. Moreover, goal 4.1 of the SDG states that teaching must be of quality and guarantee learning. However, there are still problems with this in Brazil. Moreover, the importance of attendance of nursery and primary school is highlighted in goal 4.2. However, despite this, 15% of children are still out of preschool educational centers, and as of nursery schools, the situation here is even more critical, as the data for Brazil points out, to an attendance rate of only 32.7%, and while in the northern region it is only 16.9%. So in Brazil, there are basically 3 main obstacles to achieving SDG 4. So mainly lack of funding of education, inability of municipalities to maintain preschool educational centers, and there is still strong societal inequality based on race and income. Now let's land in Asia. So as you know, Asia is a very diverse continent, and the situation with education might be drastically different depending on the particular region in Asia. So according to the latest report compiled by UNESCO, overall the largest share of children has completed primary education in the past years, but many are yet to complete secondary education. So more than 90% of children complete primary education in 10 out of 17 Asia Pacific countries based on the latest available data. And also Asia has seen good progress in relation to this target, as evidenced by increasing gross enrollment ratio for primary school education over the past years. So in Eastern Asia alone, this ratio grew by 9 percentage points between 2015 and 2019. However, overall levels remain very low in some sub-regions, especially in Central Asia, where only 4 out of 10 children are enrolled in the preschool educational centers. Moreover, the progress on SDG 4 also depends on countries' income level. So, schools in the high-income countries are generally well equipped, and they have adequate services and facilities outlined by SDG 4. However, this is not the case in lower-income countries, especially in primary schools. So, for example, only 5% of primary schools in Afghanistan have adequate hand washing facilities. And moreover, there is still an issue with attacks on schools and teachers, especially in Afghanistan and Myanmar. Moreover, there is a severe shortage of highly qualified teachers, especially in pre-school education, pre-primary education. And the situation is particularly serious in Lao People's Democratic Republic, the Maldives, and Tajikistan, where there is a severe shortage of qualified teachers. In other countries, such as Nepal and Pakistan, female instructors are less likely to be trained than their male peers. So that being said, Asia is still very far away from completing the goals of SDG 4 due to financial constraints, shortage of teachers, and also due to the prejudices regarding girls receiving an education. Unfortunately, this is still a fact in some places in Asia. And at the same time, in Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, girls and boys from the richest and poorest households uh, almost equally complete primary to upper secondary education. So now let's see how India, such an ethnically diverse country, is doing in the context of SDG 4. So according to the United Nations Associations for Development and Peace, India has made significant progress in universalizing primary education with improvement in the enrollment and completion rates of girls in both primary and elementary school. The Right to Education Act of 2009 is a landmark legislation that guarantees free and compulsory education to all children between 6 and 14 years old, and it has significantly contributed to increase enrollment and reduce dropout rates in primary education. However, there are still several issues. So, for example, there is still the issue of gender inequality. Gender inequality in education persists, particularly in rural areas, and India still needs a robust effort to overcome the gender gap in higher education. Moreover, social cultural factors, safety concerns, and societal norms contribute to lower enrollment and higher dropout rates among girls. The availability of school infrastructure also remains a challenge. So, for example, only 65% of primary schools have electricity, according to UNICEF. And moreover, less than one fifth of the estimated 120 million potential students are enrolled in higher education institutions in India. And now let's see how Australia is doing regarding SDG 4. So I chose Australia because it's a very similar region to Europe in terms of politics and economics, and also Asia is a separate continent, an island, and a country. So it's a very interesting case study. It's a unique country. I think it will make the presentation more interesting. So Australia's approach to implementing the SDGs is led by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Interdepartmental Committee. So in line with SDGs, achieving equity and inclusion is stated as a priority for Australia's educational aid program and strategy. So Australia finances different opportunities for students, such as having overseas educational experience. Moreover, Australian universities are committed to providing equal access to all Australians who would like to receive quality tertiary education. Moreover, responding to SDG 4, universities have many platforms and programs in place to support both men and women, indigenous and Torres Strait Islander peoples, people from regional, rural, and remote Australia. And these programs include, for example, pre-commencement scholarships, pathways programs, and accessibility supports, as well as support programs for uh, students while they are studying. And these platforms and programs have seen a significant increase in all equity group participation. Australia also doing pretty good in terms of enrollment rates. So Australia has 98.5% of primary uh, school enrollment rate, 99.5% of education, secondary school completion rate, and 54.3% is tertiary education enrollment rate. Also, nevertheless, there are still challenges in fully achieving the objectives of SDG 4. So, for example, Australia underinvests in early childhood education, and it is still behind many OECD countries in terms of amount of free tuition provided for preschool aged children. For instance, Australia is one of the only 11 OECD countries that do not provide universally funded access to early childhood education for 3 years old. Moreover, disadvantaged primary and high school students, such as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, rural students, and learners with disabilities, continue to have poor educational outcomes than their more advantaged classmates. So, for example, 93% of non-Indigenous Year 9 students were above the minimum standards for reading, and only 71% of Indigenous students were at the same level. Also, only 5% of students in the lowest socio-economical quartile were high performance compared to the 8% of students within the second socio-economic quartile. 12% in the third socioeconomic quartile, and 21% in the highest socioeconomic quartile. Moreover, Australia has still a shortage of teachers at schools. However, the situation with education opportunities and enrollment is still much better than in previous continents. So this is why I assigned a green circle to Australia at the beginning of presentation. So Australia has made good progress, but not very good nor excellent. But it is still doing much better than other places that we have talked about. So now I would like to add some personal touch to the presentation, and I would like to talk very shortly about an NGO that puts a great emphasis on educational opportunities for disadvantaged groups, and with whom my school classmates and I used to collaborate. So this is Kindred Project. It is a student-led non-governmental organization set up in 2010 in Soto Grande International School where I used to study before coming to IE. So Kindred Project works with international partners such as Ecuador, Morocco, Spain, and Uganda to support local communities and give them the right to access education. So they do many fundraisers and collect donations. For example, people donate school uniforms and then they are sent to Uganda, for example. Also, when I used to study at Soto Grande International School, last Friday of each month used to be a non-uniform day. And to participate in this, everyone had to donate €1. And then raised money was used to sponsor a child so that he or she can go to school for the whole year. So you see, they are doing lots of great things. And here are Facebook, Instagram, and also link of school website where you can see more information regarding what they are doing. And also you can follow them if you want to. They do lots of nice things, and they really do contribute to positive change. So, in conclusion, our journey across the continents to see the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal 4 was very insightful, and I hope you learned a lot. And it is evident that dedicated efforts have brought us closer to the goal of ensuring inclusive and equitable education for all. However, our collective journey has also revealed the persistent issues that demand our unwavering attention and commitment. The targets of SDG 4 remain largely unfulfilled, reminding us that there are still so many things to be done to create a world where education is a right and not a privilege. So with this presentation, I just wanted to reiterate the importance of education as a cornerstone of sustainable development and a powerful tool of empowering individuals and transforming societies. So hopefully additional efforts made by different world actors will bring us closer to the realization of SDG 4. And thank you very much for listening. And here you have my LinkedIn QR code and the link if QR code will not work. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the topic of my presentation.